Good evening. Happy Wednesday. How's everybody doing tonight? Thank you for joining me for another Project Healing Waters special. Doing this each and every week of the pandemic since everything got shut down. Here we are 1 year later. 1 year in a week. 1 year, 1 week. How about it? So, we're going big tonight. Go big or go home. Well, it's not too big. We could easily go a lot bigger. I'm going to give it a few minutes. Let the notices get out there, and yeah. Steve, good evening. Thanks for tuning in. James, good evening. I'll also speak a little bit about the upcomings of what's going to be going on with our Project Healing Water program. Not to build up too much drama, but not much is happening. But anywho, so what we're going to be tying tonight is a. Let me turn off my echo. Do you guys hear the echo when I? If I can monitor myself, do you hear extra? Is there? Can you hear that? Can you hear more than me? I don't know. Um, Otherwise, I just turn my volume all the way down, and I don't have to worry about listening to myself. So, anyways, we're going to be tying some pike flies, and in order to get to the pike fly, we got to make the dubbing brush, and for that, there's stuff you can buy on. Oh, no, there is no echo. I always thought there was an echo. Wow. Huh. Go figure. Let's turn this little light off. Anyways, I've been cleaning my bench and remodeling, not remodeling, but cleaning my bench and everything around it. Uh, Lately, I get in this bad habit. Well, maybe I'll turn myself up just a little bit so I can hear myself. Anywho, what I get in this bad habit of doing is I take all my stuff and I just let it pile up, pile up, pile up, and then it gets to be too much, and I take everything out off of the bench and I just throw it into a cardboard box. Just throw it all in there. And then what I do is I sit down on the floor and I start to sort everything. And I take all my hackles and put it over there. Take all my fur and I put it over there. And I take all my rubber legs and my flash and my Congo hairs and this is and that's. And gosh, I got a lot of stuff. So, anyways, what we've got going on tonight, like I said, is our dubbing brush extravaganza. And I'll go ahead and show you on this side. Now, there's dubbing brush makers that you can buy, and I'm sure there's a lot simpler ones. Dave Coleman has a pretty nice setup with, he uses a power drill. But this is my setup, and I honestly think, sometimes half the fun is coming up with your own way of doing this. And all right, so on this end, it spins, and I've got, I don't know. It's how you go to the garage and you just get to the parts that you have and this and that. So I had some wing nuts that fit through and some double washers and double nutted and this and that. And just a little hook off of something. I don't know. A little clip. And then on this end, I wish I had an eye bolt or another hook on this side. But I just haven't hated the design enough. I don't have any spring in this. I don't have any way to really adjust the tension. I have messed around with springs, and I've actually found that you need the tension on it to bind down as this wire twists. So good news is I have everything set up behind me. I got the camera set up and whatnot. I also have a piece of flooring. This is just vinyl flooring. It's nice and thin, nice and light. And I had a little toy drone that I had this in, and it's just a little box that I've picked up somewhere, and I've got it marked with some markings on it. So this just sits right on top of that. And we're going to go ahead and make ourselves some brushes tonight. Well, we're going to start with one, and then we'll do another one, and then maybe we'll do another couple or two. Well, we'll at least get through one. And for my brush, I got some yellow Congo hair. I'm going to be using some of this hot radioactive crystal web, so it's a type of flash tan H2O flash. It's just like a flat flashaboo. Some pearl flashaboo, and this bright yellow, bright neon. What do they call this? It's a big game hair hot yellow. So that's what we're going to be using, and normally I just spin around and you get to get the view of the bench. We're not going quite to the bench yet. Let's transition that over. We'll kick the light on so maybe we can see a little bit better, and I'll do my best to get this kind of re-squared up into the frame. So this is just my box, cardboard box with just my little tile on it, and I think that's a pretty good shot, if I may say so myself. Let me spin myself around, but before I get to that, I'm going to just leave this out of the way while I deal with this. I've got this little tool prepping pad, and let's see, here we go. It works out pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of prep all my material prior to my laying of all my materials out. So I'm going to do things in kind of the order that I want to get this going in on. So I'm going to start with my yellow Congo hair, and one of the rules that we always kind of have to maintain is, sparse is narce, less is more or less. I'm going to double that up. That feels like a good amount. Alright, let's go ahead and multiply by dividing. We'll trim that. And we don't want to go willy-nilly with this. We want to measure this out so we have some sort of guidance. So there's my ruler. I'm going to measure these out right at about 3 inches. Right at about 3 inches. So I'm going to just trim off that uneven part, and here we go. That is ready to go. I can get rid of that little puff and put this away. One of the lessons I'm trying to learn is to clean as you go, put things away. I don't know, I always end up wanting to tie more flies, make more flies. Alright, so kind of in contrast, but in that same kind of lemon lime flavor, I guess. We're going to go with this hot radioactive crystal flash, and we're going to kind of go for half as much as what we need because we're going to fold this over and do the same thing. Multiply by dividing. We're going to take our, fold it over, cut it once, and we're going to measure this out right at about that 3-inch mark. Oh, dropped it. All right. Let's set that in there. Next, we'll put this away. Next is going to be our flash. This is a H2O flash in tan. Here's the little trick with this one. If it's in the bag, try this little trick. You can just take your whip finish tool. I don't need that much. There we go. But this is actually going to give us a good amount of contrasting color in here. It's actually this tan. It reminds me a lot of a VHS or audio cassette tape, but it's just a little shinier. And this I'm actually going to leave a little bit longer. I'm just going to leave that at its full half length. And same with our Pearl Flashaboo 6905. Alright, we got 9 of us in here now. Outstanding. Good evening. Thanks for tuning in. How's everybody doing? I'll grab some of this pearl. I think it might be a little bit too much of the pearl, but we'll adjust fire if need be. Yeah, that's way too much. Let's go for about half. Usually if you think you got too much of something, go for about half, reassess, and then go from there. I'm just going to trim off what I need. A little bit left hanging out of there, but we'll figure it out when we get to the next one. Alright, same as before. Fold this right in half. And that's going to be it for those. And this is just keeping our work in hand, out of the way, prepped, ready to go. Obviously you can cut as you go, but this kind of gives me a good feel and a good visual of what I'm working with. Now here's my big long big game hot radioactive fibers. A little crinkly. I like this. It definitely has some glow to it. Alright, I'm just going to fold this in half. Actually, no, wait. I don't want to fold this in half. I want this to be nice and long. I want this to be about 6, a little bit more, 6 inches, 6, 7, 8. We'll go about 8 inches. 7 inches, 6, 7 inches. Let's go 6 and 7. And a little bit. So not quite, just taking a little bit of that extra madness off. Alright, that's going to be it for our fly. That's going to be our pieces. All our components, we're prepped and ready to go. We got our just plain yellow Congo hair. We've got our hot radioactive green crystal web flashy stuff. Some tan flashaboo basically, some pearl flashaboo, and this nice big. Oh, and last but not least, I got some crystal flash. And this is some big, super long pearl flash. And sometimes I think just a little bit of pearl flash in the mix is awesome. And this is going to be nice and long. Probably going to trim this down after it's all said and done with, but we're going to go that nice full length on that too. Nice big long piece of crystal flash. I don't know how that's going to turn out, but essentially everything gets pulled in by half. So our longest material, if you think of this as the spine of the hook, with the material tied in and twisted around, you're going to lose just a little bit of length. So let's go ahead and spin this all together. What do you say? Dave, good evening. We got 10 of us here already. All right. Well, before I get into everything with the fly, with spinning all this up, I just want to spin my. Now we got that all prepped. I need to talk just a little bit of quick business before we get going into the with the rest of the making the brush. So we usually get about 10-12 people. So I think most people that are going to be here is here. If not, we'll get to everybody later. So anyways, with the Project Healing Waters, from the sounds of it, and this is just, okay, 100% disclosure, this is coming from me, not directly from Project Healing Waters. Please know that, like, I'm a news reporter. I try to report the facts as I get them. There may or may not be errors. La da 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 da. What I say is not the final word, is what I'm saying. But anyways, from what I take, they're doing this in 4 phases. Phase 1 is already done, or we're in phase 1. Phase 2 is kicking off April 1st. April 1st, they're rolling into phase 2. Phase 2, there's all sorts of COVID waivers, and volunteers have to take a quick online course, and all sorts of stuff have to happen. But the ratio is 1 participant and 1 volunteer for the session, period, per session. And that's for outdoor activities only. That's fly casting and fishing in the river. No boats, nothing like that. But the thing is you're going to be wearing masks. We're going to be socially distanced, and it's going to be really hard to take somebody new out on the water, and it's somebody could take me out to the water and I would probably do just fine. I don't need that close of an adult supervision. Dave would just yell at me from on the other side of the river, "Rod tip down, Aaron, rod tip down," or whatever. Get the slack out of your line. What are you doing, Aaron? That kind of stuff. The good stuff. But we can't necessarily be up in everybody's face. And that's for phase 2. Phase 2 is just like, or moving on to phase 3, which is to be determined when that will go into effect. And that's going to be a total group size no greater than 10, right? You're still going to still have to maintain distancing, this and that, still outdoors. And it's not going to be until phase 4 is till when we're going to get inside fly tying classes, face-to-face fly tying classes. And Once we hit phase 3 is when we're going to be doing a group no greater than 10. Everything has to get pushed through the computer system through just how you do the online waivers, this and that. You're gonna get an email prior to the event, etc., etc. That you'll have to say, yeah, I'll be there, or no way, Jose, or whatnot. Um, and all those things are going to happen. At least 2 days, 3 days prior to the event. Um, but yeah, so that's the big update. For the phase 2 and phase 3, if you look on the John Hopkins coronavirus, COVID-19, whatever, our state, in order for anything to happen moving forward, our positive test rate, 7-day average, can be no greater than 5%. So that's the update on that. So don't plan on much happening anytime soon other than these live streams for now. But I will be getting in contact with the volunteers and we'll come up with a plan. We'll come up with a plan as we get into the fishing season. It's like right now, nobody's out there fly fishing right now, anyways. Well, the brave are, but they shouldn't be unless they're just going for sunnies. But all right, let's go ahead and finish making this brush. I just had to get all that information out while my brain was still thinking of it all and checking on my notes. Questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the chat. If I don't see it in the chat, or if you want to shoot me an email, shoot me an email. Call me if you know my number. Um, all right, so let's make our brush. We'll set these off to the side. Those are ready to go. We'll put our little table on, and then my table is just a tick taller, right at about the same height as where my wire is going to go. How is it that I can have a clean bench, clean everything, prepare everything, and then when it comes down to it, can't find that dang gum wire. No, come on, guys. Hmm. Well, those are the hooks. I got my hooks I want to use. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna have to give me 1 second till I find this wire. It looks just like this, but it's different. This is my large. I want to go with the smaller. I want to go with the medium. Well, I guess we're going to go with that, I suppose. Oh, there it is. Behind the computer. Alright. So first things first for me is I need to attach my wire to my fixed side. So I'm just going to go ahead and give myself a little bit of slack here to work with. Alright, that's going nowhere. All right, so there's my wire. Da 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 da. And you don't need too sticky of a wax. So this is just my low tack, just regular old dubbing wax. I'm going to run this all the way across the line. In fact, while I think about it, I'm going to stretch this out. This will be the other side, and I'm going to wax this pretty good too. Because I tend to get excited and forget that I am building a brush, and I'll forget to wax my line. Alright, so I've got these little markings. Are those markings right for me or right for you? It looks like they're right for me. And that just gives us just a little bit more of a visual reference. You guys can see the little black line. And measured off of the center, I've got some tick marks. And what's interesting is you measure them in half-inch increments, but you label them 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5, because that's just the way it works. We get all the way out to here. That's a 7-inch fly. So, all right, let's do it. We'll start with our yellow Congo hair. And I want to distribute this all the way across about that 7-inch mark, but I want to do it nice and even, nice and sparse. So I'll just start on the two outsides. Just kind of mark myself off, and it's just feather it on just a little bit. And if it gets just a little sloppy, that's entirely okay. It's not going to make or break anything. We'll just take our time laying this in here nice and even. And I'm not 100% how certain we can see it. Yeah, you guys can't see that really good, but some things are just kind of hard to do on camera. But as we build it, we'll get our foundation layer down. Alright, so that's all our yellow Congo here, and I got that spread out nice and even, nice and flat within that kind of 7-inch margin. Do you need to be vaccinated in order to sign up? No. There's no. See, they can't. That's the thing about uh, the vaccinations and stuff. It's like how do we do anything? You can't. It's a lawyer thing. That's a question for the lawyers. But basically, if you've signed the COVID-19 waiver form that you have been emailed, between that and wearing all the proper protective gear, providing your own gear, so it's not like we show up and you can use our equipment. You need your own rod, your own reel. It's like you're basically fishing on your own, but you're just with that other person as kind of a guide. But it's kind of like a hands-off guide kind of thing. Um, but as far as um, you know, we'll touch base on all those as we venture into them. Um, but as far as volunteers, we got to get all of our volunteers that are in the system and the ones that are not in the system. So we're moving on to our tan kind of flash boot, and I'm just taking my time, laying these out almost kind of one at a time. I guess I could do a couple at a time, but I'm just making sure I cover everything nice and uniform. Today on How It's Made, a worker takes little strands of fibers, lays them perpendicular against a wire. Later, another worker I think this is going to be it. I don't want to go too dense on this. Yeah, we're going to leave that at that. Let's put that in my little organizer for now, because we're going to move on to our pearl flashaboo. I like a little pearl flashaboo in there. I like when I'm making these brushes, you can make them as complex or as simple. I like, diversity and color mixed in there. And I know all these colors are just going to work just fantastically together. Keeping these all as pretty much as straight as I can. This is going to help with the taper of the overall fly once everything gets put together. Alright, I think that's enough of that pearl. Time for the big game. This is the really long here. So same thing. I was going to stretch this out 50-50 on either side. Here we go. And this is going to end up, so everything beyond here, these longer portions are all going to work their way into the tail of everything. So if all goes to plan, we should end up with a nice kind of portioned out teardrop. There we go. So that's all of that. We used all of that. And now onto our big strands of crystal flash. This stuff is pretty cool. I've never get so used to just seeing this stuff in the smaller lengths, the quote-unquote standard length. This has got to be 1.5 feet long. I'm literally just taking a strand at a time and just dispersing these nice and even. Here we go. I like that. Wow, I just took a sip of coffee and that went, wow, the wrong way. All right. So my line is already waxed. What I want to do is I want to carefully draw this to the other side. And attach this over here. Which is not the best system, but it's kind of one of those things that it works. All right, where's my nippers? I'll go ahead and trim that out of the way. All right, so now This is the most kind of critical part. Is I'm going to start giving it a little bit of a twist. As I twist, I'm going to slowly drop and let it be free. And this is the fun part. We just spin it and spin it. And it'll start catching up and it'll start spinning all the way down to the other side. Now we're starting to get some tension on it. And because I don't have any springs, we just get tighter and tighter. And after you make a few of these, you really start to get a feel for it. All right, I think we got a nice initial binding of it. Take a little piece of Velcro. I just want to make sure these are just starting to go perpendicular. I'm not trying to pull everything out. I'm just trying to make sure it is going to be spinning freely. So this is a homemade contraption. There are, like I said, there are or manufactured products that do this same thing, and there's also plenty of other DIY see what you come up with kind of thing. All right, that's pretty good for now. I'm going to pick this out with my brush. Shouldn't end up with too much falling out, but a little bit is inevitable. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull it all in one direction, see how it lands, and then we can come in with our good friend Mr. Bodkin. Any kind of major clumps, we can get them oriented in the right direction. I think we're doing pretty good. And it's always a good idea to get this all cleaned up as best as you want to get it cleaned up kind of prior to tying it in. Just looking for any little knots, any pieces that are just wound and bound. Because what we're looking for is the nice full length of these longer fibers and the extra long crystal flash. I think I like that. And I will just kind of preen everything to one side. Push down on it. Because when we wrap it around the shank of the hook, we want everything on one side of this to begin with. So there is our beautiful, beautiful piece there. All right, sounds good. Let's go ahead and give that a trim, and we'll give... All right, so there is our wonderful brush that we just made. This has got some beautiful color to it. All right, so at this point I'm gonna put the camera on a quick standby. Alright, so that was the first half of the fly. Now we're going to actually tie the fly, which is the easy part. There's not much to it. It's basically done. And if you want to get into the big pike flies, into the musky flies, then you start, what do you say? Start putting them together. I'm going to get that adjusted a little bit. Normally I get this taken care of before. I think that'll do us. So what do we think of the brush? Questions, comments, concerns about the brush? I really wish we could, that's the thing, is I wish this whole coronavirus thing never even happened, to be perfectly honest. It just doesn't seem to, it's just almost just a little bit too bright. Working on my lighting. Yeah, that doesn't do any good for nobody. Alright, let's do part 2 of this big old monster. Switch that camera back over there, and that should be the vise. Alright. First things first, you need a hook, right? We're going to go with Ahrex chemically sharpened fly hooks designed for large predators demanding a heavy wire hook. Hooks so big, so bad, they only put 8 in the pack. Holy smokes. I don't want to pull that out of the shoulder, but there we go. That's our big old hook. Alright, big old hook deserves a big old thread. And keep it simple, I'm just going to use this Chartreuse 210. I'll start it up front, just lay a little thread base. Find the lost scissors. And this is just real simple. We just work our thread to the back. And this is going to be a bare bones, as simple as it gets. There's obviously ways to just go absolutely bananas as far as how how much stuff you can add to these. I'm just going to tie this wire in all the way. Give us just a little bit of hidden weight. Not necessary. I guess we could have just trimmed it off, but let's kind of hide it on the inside. And it gives us just a little bit more, I don't know, bulk to wrap our wire around. Alright, we've got to mind that because that is actually nice and sharp and it'll nick your thread. Alright, it's as simple as this. I'm not adding any tail. I'm not adding anything. This is going to be cool in the gang simple. Alright, before I do anything, I'm going to lay... I'm not going to go... yeah, do I want to do Zap-A-Gap? I'm just going to do some Sally Hansen's in there. And it's no Zap-A-Gap, but I don't have the best of luck with Zap-A-Gap on top with some of this stuff sometimes, especially with these super long crazy hair fibers. And this is a big enough of a deal that I believe we'll be able to just keep it as clean as we can. And each wrap, I'm just trying my best to not get anything trapped in the forward position, locking anything down. We're just nice and tight. And each wrap, I'm going to give it a little pinch right up there to feel it kind of lock in. See, that's the good stuff. We want to keep that stuff open and free. Here we go. Now we're getting back to our bulk. Let's keep that towards the rear. And with any luck, we should end up right up front with just enough left. And I see everything behind me. All my previous work is just kind of turning into like a little twisted rat's nest. Hey, that's alright. In this stage of the game, I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah, buddy. So it's hard to imagine. You don't necessarily see it at the beginning, but 7 inches of brush got us to right here. So, with some experimenting and some good note taking, one could really map out, okay, well, it took 7 inches to get us here, so if I want the front, 2/3 or the front third of it um, to have a different color or to have a different taper, then you could easily just go that route. Nice and tight. I'm not being shy. Alright, now I have to be careful because right where I trim that off is going to be nice and sharp. But I want to make sure I get myself a nice clean head up front. I'm going to add a little dab of hot orange resin. When it's all said and done with, we'll finish this with a whip finish. 1, 2, 3, big fly. We'll do one more. 1, 2, 3. So yeah, the overall construction process of this it's not super complex. All right, here we go. This is the kind of the moment of truth. Oh, a little P-ball, little cork P-ball. Smart, huh? That Arex is jackrabbit sharp. We'll just take our time brushing this out, picking this out. Get in there with the bodkin. We got it tied in there nice and tight. Everything should be holding nice and fast. And sometimes you have to kind of pick against the grain at first. Just take everything kind of perpendicular. Pull everything away from the shank of the hook directly away. Don't worry about brushing back yet. But I'm sure the camera isn't doing the color of this much justice. This is just absolutely, with the copper in there, or the tan and the gold, not the gold, but the pearl, the mirage tinsel. Yeah, start gathering all that together. Just kind of as suspected are here's another little trick. You won't be able to see this, but sometimes you just have to set it in your lap, and then you can really get a good brush on it. Hold it right by the head of the fly, right by the eye of the hook. And if you're smart and put a little cork in it, you'll find yourself not stabbing yourself. So, as you can see, those 3-inch fibers were cut in half, as we brushed them on. So those take us, to about, I'm lining up with about the back of the hook. So you know, the first bits of fibers start about there, those longer fibers, and everything just starts really working its way back. Um, but, so, yeah, a little bit more than 6 inches. I suppose we could kind of. I think I'm going to leave that right as it is. Maybe we could just have gone just a little less on the flash, maybe. I don't know. But to keep everything clean, clear, and out of the way while I do my head cement, I'll use my little hair clamp. So here we go. All right. So just up front here, I just want to give it just a little bit of contrast. So I'm going to use a little bit of fluorescent red, Solaris. Go right off the brush, loosen up my lace, and we're just going to paint this right on. I was smart enough earlier to make sure my flashlight was charged, because wouldn't you know, it was not. Alright, we'll set it and forget it. Then I'm going to throw a little splash of Solaris Bone Dry on top of that. And for that, I'll probably just use the bodkin. So it's like a little clear coat on top of the other UV stuff. Keep it nice and clean. Give it a little depth. Alright, we got, let's see, a couple more in the chat. Smart Mouth in the house. Hiya and a good morning. Good morning. Williest Mocha 4. Hey, thanks for tuning in. So there you have it. That is kind of pike fly. I mean, just add water, baby. That sucker is fantastic. I don't think I can push that far enough away to really get a good view of it. So yeah, portion wise, the hook's 2 inches. So yeah, kind of going off the back of the hook here, we're looking at about, I don't know, twice the length. And I think half of the fun is just coming up with the different brush color combinations. So it looks like we got time to knock out another one. What do you say there, boys and girls? Do another one? I think so. I think we got time. Yeah, I say we definitely got time for that. We'll have to set everything back up, but that's okay. We can do that jumping jack flash. Let me turn that camera off. That camera is off. Uh-oh. Bum. Gotta zoom out. Maybe some eyes. Yeah, we could do eyes on it maybe. Kind of running a little low on eyes. I was thinking about, I guess we could just slap something on there. But I'm thinking with just that, we'll do eyes on another one. That green goblin looks like you've tried every sparkle of the craft store glitter. As the coating isn't set. No, I haven't tried any kind of glitter. I do have some sparkle. Solar does make a sparkle resin. Let's see here. Yeah, okay, let's go ahead. Switch that back over. Now we're looking downtown. Alright, let's go ahead and go with our yellow Congo hair again. And again, we're going to end up folding this over. So we want to grab half as much as we want. That looks pretty good. Scissors. Alright, we wanted to measure this out right at about, what did we say, 3 inches? I had to zoom out, that's what I went to. Therefore, here we go. So my yellow, I wanted right about 3 inches. We'll put our yellow away. Kind of balance that with this radioactive crystal web. We'll do the same thing. Take about half as much as we want. Fold that in half. I'm just going to take that right to about 3 inches. Once that's measured out, okay, and we've got, I think we have enough of this left over. And I think we've got enough of this left over. Just need our big game fiber. this I want to measure out at about 7 inches, so right about 6. And then my big ol' crystal flash. I like this big old crystal flash. I mean, this is super long. So we just need a couple strands of this. We'll be good to go. And maybe a couple more. And again, on these, I'm just going to leave these full length. Well, 6. I'll just trim the tips off just a little bit, just to say we did something to it. So there that is. That is all of ours materials prepped and ready to just get right in on it. So Dave says eyes. Well, the eyes have it then, I guess. We'll put eyes on it. I've got these silver eyes. 3/8. Nope. Yeah. All right, we'll do eyes on the when we get the camera reset back up. So buckle up. We're gonna probably go just a tick past 8 o'clock tonight. So get ready, ladies and gentlemen. I need to take another sip of coffee. All right. This time we won't have to spend any time looking for our wire. I forgot to mention what the wire is. Let's see here if I can get the camera to focus in on it. It's made by Uni DBW dubbing brush wire. This is a medium 6/1000 stainless steel. How about that? So we'll get this fixed on our far side. Stretch this out, and then we'll get it waxed up. Just throw your wax on there ahead of time, and then you won't forget about it later. Wax smarter, not harder. And I can just let that hang off to the side. Here we go. Like I said, we're not dealing with perfect here. We're dealing with a DIY dubbing brush spinner. There's lots of different YouTube videos out there that you can get all sorts of inspiration and ideas. I just came up with the I've had the mechanical unit for it quite some time now, and the table here is a new addition, and I think I'm gonna have to revamp it just so it's something that I can see a little bit better. Because this is kind of hard to see. but at least all our material is prepped. We just take a little bits at a time. You don't want to be clumpy. That's the one thing you don't want to do, is just try not to be clumpy about things. We'll just put a few here, and we know how much we have in our hand. So, we know that, okay, well, I want this much material to end up in there. You can even fade things. You can start with longer pieces and taper them down. Imagination is your only limitation. What can I say? In fact, yeah, we'll just keep it going. Alright, we'll go on to our tan Flashaboo. And that last one, I think we went just a little bit too dense with it, especially up front. Alright, on to our pearl Flashaboo. This really gets us some good color underneath, because it really just kind of absorbs and reflects and refracts whatever it's near, plus a little bit of pearl. Alright, on to the big Congo, or the big game here. Full length. I'm just laying this in there nice and easy. 50-50 all the way across. And again, we're avoiding clumps. Just laying it in there nice and neat. So I know Dave Coleman has experienced this, because he's the man who showed me the ways on this initially. Whether I listen or not, I don't know. I hope I'm doing a good job, Dave. I try to emulate all the good things that I learn, share them. Just like fishing, knowledge. Knowledge should always be catch and release, man. Don't bogart the knowledge. Share it. Alright, we're looking good, nice and even. Alright, we got our big strands of pearl crystal flash. Now we're just going to do the same thing. And what it does is, when you get this kind of in the mix, it just kind of, a little bit goes here, a little bit goes there. Alright. And that's it. That's all of our materials. Oh, let's see here. I'm spinning around every now and then. I could glue one of those paper strip rulers on the top of my brush, or with just clear tape. I love those strips if I need markings. Yeah. I think what really helps keeping things together is this little kind of prep pad. Having all those bits just kind of pre-measured out, I think really helped save a lot of time and effort. Alright, here we go. Here's a little piece of flash. We can add you, and there's another little piece of flash. We can just Drop that in there. We'll carefully get this tucked in. All right. Keep that into our 7-inch constraints. Alright, I'm going to start giving it a couple of turns just to get that initial bite on it. Once I see it wanting to start to twist, then I can just carefully remove that. Let's do some spinning. And of course, if you've got an electric motor or whatever, I'm sure it'll work out just fine. Because as it starts to get tight, we're starting to get a little bit of tension in there. Where is our bodkin? Careful not to pick it out too hard too early. Just kind of giving it a little bit of encouragement to fall into place. A little just right dress action. Alright, let's keep it going. Gonna pick those loops out. I think we're doing pretty good. Nice and sparse. I like these sparser brushes. I think if you go too deep, too dense, I think that's the first mistake you'll make, is just going way too dense with your materials. I see some, some of the videos I watched on how to make these and this and that. I don't know. I think they end up just putting a little bit too much smaller material, like just throwing a bunch of ice dub in there. I don't know how that works out. I think it would probably, I don't know, in my opinion, I think it ends up not giving the wire anything to close in on, because it's just like an underfur. It almost acts like. I think we're doing pretty good on that. Alright. I like that. This is really sparse. Might be a little too sparse, but it's the name of the game, is figuring it out. Alright. Da 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 da. We'll go ahead and switch to this camera real quick so we can get this one back in action. So that's the dubbing brush portion of that. Let's get our camera back into action here. All right. Boy, oh boy, I don't know what to say, but I was looking at the analytical data of some of the previous videos, and I tell you what, the crease fly, boy, that took off.